I have brought the planning for this project along somewhat here, and I want to show you the results of that and where I am now, and have you make some judgment calls on where you want to go from here. This is where we were the last time at one of the plans. This stayed the same, and we're not going to deal with this at all in this film, but this is where we were the last time, where we had brought this out 8. It really, these trusses, these are 2 foot on center here trusses, and this is against that beam. I'm showing that as 24s. It says 22s will pass, but I think you'd probably be better off with the 24s. But this 2 foot spacing here, this last truss here should technically be right in here, on here. So I started by moving that back to where that truss is aligned where it needs to be. You know, that trims off. That was 8 foot to the outside, and then we moved that back at 6 foot 10 to the outside. So we trimmed off about 14 inches on that inside floor to make it make sense with these here. So that brought this interior dimension from here to here down, something interior dimension down to 16.9 from something close to 18 feet. So the same 14 inches comes off of that there. But it also, that 14 inches was added, and this, the way I started, was added to this piece down here, where that 14 inches taken away from here was added to the patio depth here, going up to 17.4 interior space from 16.2 to 17.4. And then I did the same thing with that 2 foot on center, because this roof is continuous all the way through here. So I did that same thing with these rafters, which are 2 by 8s, and that 2 foot on centering works out this way. So I added that to the patio as well, bringing this roof out from 22 feet to 23 foot 3 and adding even more inside. And so now the inside of this patio, if we use these columns, these 16-inch columns here, the inside of that is 18 foot 8. And all of the beams you see in here and all the members are the final sizing as shown. This door is shown as a 9 foot wide. It could probably get a little wider and not have to change those members to 14 inches. And then we will talk about how this is divided down here, but obviously we need something holding up this end of the beam. Now I don't show it. I'm sure it's possible that a person could run a couple 16s maybe or 18s across here and not have any columns through here. I did not review that, and I didn't even size that beam. But that can be done, where this is completely open down here. It's not shown in this film though. Now I did want to mention, in terms of some of these beams, which they're not completely finely sized here, but there are a variety of solutions you can use. Now I'm just using these LVLs, but they show as another 2 LVLs for these edge beams, for example. Now this one will be different because there's going to be a fireplace here interrupting that. But for this beam here, for example, this 14-inch beam C, a couple 14-inch LVLs will do it, but they are saying if you go down to these, you can use a couple of those at lesser cost. So you would have to see what the availability is on some of these alternative products. Similarly, this is the ridge beam, where I sized that on this plan as a 3/14s, take 3/14s, but they say it can be done with these timber strand LSLs if those are available. And you can see the deflection's a little bit more going to this alternative product. The total deflection here is just under 1 inch, and here it goes up to about 1.25 inches. Not that that's a big deal. It still is meeting code. But I just wanted you to know that before I went too far along with that. And once we know exactly how big that space is going to be, I will size them finally and see which ones are the least expensive and call those out as the first alternative. But returning to the plan then, this is where using that 2 foot on center here and down here, and I agree this is a lot of work to just pick up maybe 6 foot inside. But we will return to this later in the film, briefly at the end. But to bring this film along a little bit, or to bring this along a little further, I have shown just this fireplace here, which is a prefabricated wood-burning fireplace. I can't remember the model number, but this, I believe it has a 3 foot wide opening. I'll double check that. But the result of that is a 7-foot wide chimney at that area, which accommodates this 65-inch TV pretty easily. I'll show a mantelpiece over that. But I just wanted to get that together for a minute just to see how everything was going to shape up. And so I just used a 7-foot wide chimney here, chimney fireplace arrangement, and that left about 6'2" on each side between those 16-inch columns. And I didn't understand exactly how you want to lay the furniture out in here at the time that I designed this. I have a better understanding now, and we'll explore a little bit, we'll head in that direction as the film proceeds. But starting, I put an island bar in here that I'd used in another project, which is 7'0" by about 40 inches, with seating on both sides. And then I these are the dimensions when I did that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because a lot of it's irrelevant, because this isn't really the layout you were looking for. But since this was done at the time, I'm going to continue to explain it or show it with this here, and now I'm showing 2 columns down here, and those are spread about the same as this. And when everything's like this, it gives you this area in here for arrangement, but again, some of that's irrelevant because we have other things that are going in here in a different way. But this was just what I was working with going along. I gave you this 17-foot wide by basically 19-foot square rectangle on this side of the bar without any cooking appliances in here or anything. But I had put this same type of furniture arrangement in here, and then I got some dimensions in here. And now these columns down here, so this was the first alternative, or one alternative was keeping this spacing here at 6'2" and 6'2", and the second alternative is moving those in so that these are 3 even spaces. We have to think about where those stairs are going to ultimately come off of here, but that's not really covered in this film. But that was one of the considerations, just horsing around with this. And I don't believe it's shown in any of these slides, but there's also another alternative besides the one where we use a big beam across here and this is open. There's a third alternative where there's just a single column in the center. And so some of this we'll have to wait to see how that shapes up. But I was quickly putting in a small type of kitchen here, and I don't think this isn't, as I said, this isn't what you were looking for. So this was just an experiment, really. When I put the kitchen up there, though, these 2 columns up here pretty much have to go away, because I could put one on top of this counter here, but then I don't know what to do over here. So I was kind of glad when we got away from the kitchen up here in our phone conversation. But the small kitchen looks something like this in this arrangement, and I'll show you a quick rotation around this structure with it pulled out like we've pulled it out, etc. And there won't be any narration, I don't think. And after that had been done, we talked on the telephone. I got a little better idea of what you're looking for in here. I'm not completely clear on it yet. Maybe you aren't either. But so we went from this to this, where I made the kitchen at the east side like this, and this made us a nicer kitchen for sure. And what I'm showing is 36-inch refrigeration here, 42-inch grill, and that requires a big cutout. So this cabinet's like 50 inches or so. And then a double wall sink, 36-inch cabinet, and a 24-inch cabinet. And with this 19 dimension here, we still have 3.5 feet on either side between those columns, between the wall here. And this is this island is this 10-foot long bar, and I'm showing seating on both sides, which gets you seating for 12 if they're seated on both sides of this with a typical 2-foot clearance between chairs. But if we put them only on one side, facing this way, it's something like this, and then presumably a television is up here instead of, or in addition to, one here. And I believe you said you were going to put a big table back here. I don't really show that, I don't think, to any great extent in this film. Something like that, but that's just a 6-foot or 7-foot table. Maybe yours is going to be a big round one. You can fill me in a little on the furniture arrangement, and I can model that for you. But for now, I put this together here just to give you a feel for what you're working with here. The other thing that happened here was the kitchen got a little smaller because while we could have these beams run right, these 14-inch beams run into this wall framing here. I just want to stop for a minute and say I did not work with changing these walls to frame walls away from this brick. I'm presuming this one should be brick and this one's going to be possibly all siding and this one will be all siding. But that's not yet covered in this film, although we do cover some of the texture, some of the colors outside at the end briefly. But one of the things that happened when I was showing this was I went back to having these columns at this end so we could maintain a symmetrical look going this way and here, and that took some of our space away. See, we had about 41 inches on each side, 41 or 42, and now I've reduced that to like 3 feet by shrinking this cabinet to an 18-inch cabinet and then getting the rest of the space in these here. And it's really more than 3 feet visually, a lot more. That's just the footpath would be 3 feet. And then I didn't work anymore with the kitchen or the furniture arrangement beyond that. But here's a film turnaround of what this looks like or feels like. I don't know which furniture I have in there. I have the kitchen and the bar, I think. But here's a quick turnaround of that then. And these few photos are just looking at this column arrangement down through here. Again, this can be open up through here. This beam does not need to continue all the way out here, so this could be open. There would have to be a vertical piece here coming down to whatever beam we need across here. But these are just different arrangement. This was with the roughly 8-foot spaces, and this is where it's just one in the middle, and that is, colors are different, but these are these ones pushed out where it's smaller here and closer to 9 or 10 or 11 feet here. I probably prefer the one where they're just 3 even spaces. I don't know about the single. Maybe that's preferable. Again, we have to decide, we have to see where these stairs are coming off of here, along here. I'm assuming, by the way, that there'll be a set of stairs here and one here. Maybe there's just going to be the one. But anyway, I did want to try to look at this color a little bit, or just try to get it adjusted. And you can see that I have adjusted the siding to some extent, like this, and if all that brick is painted, it would be something like this. And maybe the siding's a little green, maybe I have the colors wrong, but presumably it's closer to what you were thinking of. And so there are 2 more moves in this film to show you, and that's about as far as I've brought it. And the first one is to go ahead and add the 2 feet to that interior space here, instead of coming out whatever it is, coming out another 2 feet like this. Now notice that this doesn't change this lower margin here, because we had 5 feet to work with here. So when we brought that whole structure, that addition part, the interior part out another 2 feet, this pathway here just got more narrow between. And then you end up interior with a bigger space where you are going from this 16'9" interior space to 18'9". And then finally, having done the 2 feet here, now we've picked up almost 8 feet inside. Well, we have 8 feet inside adding. And then do we want to make this patio, or this covered patio itself, larger also by 2 feet? And then you're like that. And that's as far as I've brought it right now. So you went from that to that, adding the 2 foot of the interior space. And then if we bring it this patio and we add another 2 feet over there, it's like this. So that is as far as I've gotten. The only other thing I wanted to mention is at this point, if we come out like that, at this point, I think this is just, thought that brick is a little green, so, but you can guide me on the colors where, if we're getting closer on these colors. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, right now, if it's shown like that, with pulling that out that additional 2 feet inside and outside, which means we've brought this edge close to 2 foot further forward. That's with these 7-11 type risers, it's going to be, looks like 10 to the ground. And over here at the, if we do have stairs over there at the shed, it's going to take a little bit more stairs, a little steeper maybe, something like this. And then maybe that's just a 6-foot double door. But that is as far as I've brought it. There's a quick turnaround of this structure with the big addition, with the interior, with just this. There's a turnaround of this structure here then. And I will presumably talk to you soon. Thanks very much.